humans have this really weird relationship with time because in the moment, at least here in the United States, everyone's, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. So on one hand, we act like we're too busy to do anything. And yet, in the long term, we think we have all the time in the world. And so we don't do the important things.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Erin Marcus. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I'm so excited for my guest today, Samina Gupta from halfway around the world. And I love your message. I love your approach. I can't wait to share it with everybody. But before we do that, why don't you give everyone a little more formal introduction of who you are and what you do?
My name's Samina. I'm here in Bali. I've been living here now for almost 16 years now, going on 17 actually. I'm from England originally. My parents are immigrants to the UK, so I'm first generation British Asian, educated in the UK, worked in corporate during my 20s, and then went traveling and decided to have a massive lifestyle shift, which I think we'll talk a little bit about today.
One of the things you've said to me that is the theme of your life and how you chose to do this is, if not now, when? We wait. And not only do we wait, I say like humans have this really weird relationship with time because in the moment, at least here in the United States, everyone's, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. So on one hand, we act like we're too busy to do anything. And yet, in the long term, we think we have all the time in the world. And so we don't do the important things.
Yeah.
So how did you come to this like moment of if not now, when, and changed everything?
Yeah, if I'm honest, that's how I lived in my 20s. I was on the typical, better get my grades, better get a good job, went straight into a student sort of apprenticeship in one of the big 6 firms in the UK, started to work into IT and business, but went into business change, worked for all the big corporates in a place called Canary Wharf in London, which is basically like Silicon Valley. So I was the same. I was like, I'm too busy to live my life, too busy to do all the things. And then somehow or another, some divine intervention said, no, take a sabbatical and go traveling. And back in those days, which is about 25 years ago, corporates were very good about going, yep, go away for a year, but then make sure you come back and solve for us. But that year, obviously, completely, I was married and my husband and I went together. I was about 28. Really changed my perspective of everything, like life and how we lived it. Obviously, the Matrix had also come out, so we were all like hyper aware of the Matrix at that time.
Oh my God, generation. All right, that is so funny that you just said that because, and I think we're about the same age, but I was on a show yesterday for a woman who is in New Zealand, and she asked me, what's my favorite one-liner? And the thing that always comes to my mind is there is no spoon.
Oh,
and I don't know anybody else, right? I've never come across anybody else who like, that's my go-to point. I get to make this up. I get to choose. There's no set path. There is no spoon. So I'm just so excited. Like, I knew I loved you, but now I'm like, yes.
No, come on. The Matrix just made us go, whoa. And so that was fresh. We went traveling. We saw so many amazing entrepreneurs around the world doing such interesting things. And suddenly I was like, what am I doing? I loved my corporate career, got a lot out of it, made money, built assets, etc. Got a lot of experiences, still have friends from back then. And I'm like, what? You can do different things that are not that?
Yes.
Open, that blew my mind, and wanted to absolutely step out the Matrix. So we, as part of this 1-year travel, and I think we were about 10 months in, we landed on this tiny island in Indonesia to learn to dive. Within 2 weeks, we put down $100,000 and bought this property, which still is our business now, and is $1 million business. And because we looked at this property and my husband was like, if not now, when? People who are listening thinking, oh, but what if I take that risk and it doesn't work? I say this to my clients now, if you've made it work in some other part of your life, you're going to make it work. You've got transferable skills. whatever you take them to, even, let's be honest, even if you go into parenting, you'll figure it out. If you're the type of person that figures things out, you'll figure this out as well. Right? Nothing's going to be overwhelming because you've got those core values, you've got those core skills, they're in there. You're just applying them to something different.
I think people would really love to hear, because I'm actually going through this myself. It's very difficult to go from I'm so busy to even cognitively understanding how you can be, quote, more successful and less busy.
Oh, great question. Great question, because I'll be honest, that was probably the hardest thing, to be able to say, unlearn everything that I had learned for 30 years. And I'll be honest, I still work through it now. And this is like 16 years, 17 years later, because we're so conditioned to be productive and to be always on and always be doing something. Like, I'm from that capitalist background and I'm not in that environment. So even now, sometimes I get angst where I'm like, why are these people just sitting around, just having a good time? And this is island life. We're in an environment where everyone's, hey, let's go surf and drink coconut. So how did I work through it? To be honest, I had to have a little bit of a awakening. I had my own kind of burnout. And sometimes I laugh, I'm like, I must be the only person who has a burnout on an island. in like a desert island. But no, actually I had to unlearn so much that even getting away from my environment, I still was bringing it all with me. So this is where we become our own worst enemy. Sometimes we try and blame society and the patriarchy in the environment, and actually it's internalized and it's up to us to do the work. So I'm going to be clear, I was ready to give it up. I was like, I'm just going back to London and go to go and give me and it wasn't the business. The business wasn't hard. We have staff, like we had teams, we had people running it. It was me. And so it was a good awakening. And so that was about, I would say 10 years ago. And I've spent the last 10 years working through that and healing it, actually.
What's the mix for someone who really wants to adopt less is more, I can have more harmony, more things I want to do and still be wildly successful?
Yeah,
like,
that's such a good question. For me, I'm going to go back to my coaching principles that I teach, which is your beliefs lead to your thoughts, lead to your feelings, lead to your actions, right? So for me, it starts with beliefs. The actions follow 100%. When you start believing different things, therefore start thinking different. And if you can't get to beliefs, because you might need help with that from someone who does like NLP or something, if you can start working on your thoughts, what am I thinking here? That will follow with what that makes you feel about something, and then the action will 100% relate to that. For example, when I was starting to think, no, I should do at least a few hours work, or I used to start trying to think, everything's fine, everything's working. Look, you did, and one of the things that helps me is you did all the hard work, you built strong foundations, this building is stable, don't worry, it's not going to fall. It gets me to be able to go completely say, I'm here and I'm going to enjoy my life with my kids and do the things that I want to do. And so the balance, slowly but surely, you then do change the belief. You do start unpicking, walking away from toxic productivity and all the things that you've been carrying.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.